You're watching Business Nigerian. It's time to bring you the second part of the interview segment. Now, the continuous fuel scarcity in the country is taking a bigger toll on the airline industry, with several flights reportedly delayed or having cancelled due to the lack of Jet A1 fuel, which is aviation fuel. Now, despite being Africa's largest oil producer, Nigeria imports almost all its jet fuel, which has nearly doubled to as high as over 625 naira, which is an equivalent of $1.50 per litre since December. And it's also projected to hit well over 700 naira per litre come next week. The aviation fuel scarcity has also exacerbated flight delays that have encumbered domestic flight operations in the country and driven further the air of hopelessness as passengers wait for several hours before they board their flights. And it would also interest you to note that the global jet fuel prices have also hit a near 14-year peak as Russia's invasion of Ukraine triggered a surge in the crude oil price market, hitting airlines and passengers with steep cost increases. The latest crisis makes a further blow to an airline sector which is still recovering from the effects of COVID-19 restrictions. Well, joining me to discuss this and more virtually, I have Olumide Ohunayo, a member of the Aviation Roundtable and is also an aviation analyst. Thank you very much for joining us on the show today, Mr. Ohunayo.
Thank you for having me.
Now, with this, very fine, thank you. With the scarcity of Jet A1 fuel, it's difficult for airlines to stay afloat. We heard reports of delayed flights, cancelled flights just due to this scarcity. The aviation sector has taken a whole lot of hit from COVID and now this. How are airlines going to fare? What are the options you think there are?
Well, the airlines are finding it very difficult to cope. Remember, they just increased the ticket fare across board. This was about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and the countries yet to rest from the boar that arose from that ticket fare, and then this. If you had watched the news yesterday, the MD NNPC said the aviation fuel gets to their depot at 460 something, and getting to the general market, it goes to about 600 and something now, and we're projecting to get about 700. So invariably, the cartel handling the importation of fuel and distribution have not been able, the Consumer Protection Council and even the regulators in the oil industry have not been able to handle and supervise that cartel very well. And then that's why you're seeing that those sectors that are deregulated are suffering massively. Not just the aviation fuel, even the diesel has gone astronomical. The price has gone astronomical based on the excuse like the war in Ukraine. But for the airlines, they threatened yesterday to shut down all operations, depending when the issues can be resolved. I just hope the threats will not come to pass. I just hope, and I also hope that everybody will stand and fight against the cartel.
Okay, now
I think the airlines have a lot to
the airlines have a lot to lose now. They definitely do. But with
they have a lot to lose now, and they have a lot to learn. And like you said, what are the way out? For me, the airlines need to buoy their credit ratings because when you get to the stage whereby you pay cash and carry before you are supplied food, that does not augur well for a successful aviation operation. In aviation operations, people hedge. If they don't hedge, they have that credit facility whereby the fuels are sold and paid as at when due. But here in Nigeria, due to the poor relations and bad credit ratings and business in the past, the oil marketers are doing cash and carry. And for some other airlines, they have joined strong alliances whereby the cost of fuel, they buy in bulk and reduce the unit cost per airline. But unfortunately, none of our airlines belong to any of those alliances, so they are not benefiting from it. So, but I think the most important for them now is to come together and fight the cartel and see whether the airlines themselves can get the permission to start importing the aviation fuel. But for us to really get over this problem, we also need to set up an aviation fuel refinery. Akwa Ibom State government has promised to set up one, and I just hope it comes to pass, and this will help us with the problems with the aviation fuel.
I share your optimism, but let's wake up and smell the coffee. What do you think might be the worst that will play out come next week? We are seeing projections to hit well over 700 naira per litre for aviation fuel. Now, in terms of airlines, we see the move to smaller aircraft. But what do you think might be the worst likely situation they would have to face come next week? As you've highlighted, some are already grounding their flights.
Well, you can smell the coffee. I'm already smelling the cappuccino. And what I see here, apart from the small, apart from the bigger aircraft we parked, you might see that some of the leased aircraft might be returned. With the new alliance in place, probably some flights will be cancelled, while those passengers on those flights will be put on other flights in that alliance to operate on their behalf. I also expect that probably but the foreign crew might be asked to return home pending when the situation becomes normal. Passengers, other staff, staff might be asked to take a leave. But the least aircraft will be the one that will be grounded and parked. Frequencies will be reduced, and also our schedules. Those are things that you expect to happen. But then I think if there will be any increase in fare, it will be very marginal, because the last one has not really gotten well with the Nigerian public.
And like we always say, the devil is in the detail. In terms of communication now, what's your expectation on the part of airlines to their customers? Because really, customers see all of these intricacies play out from an outsider's perspective, hence might not have a full understanding of what's playing out. What's your expectation on proper communication of what's going on between airlines to the customers? We have to manage this communication line, wouldn't you say?
I think I'm very impressed with the AON of late. They're taking the battle out now. The first part was to get the House Committee legislation involved in this. Then they're engaging the government. As they're engaging the government, they're rolling out details of their problems on a daily basis. Different airlines posting on the social media. They're all now using social media very well, posting on the newspapers and all over to inform the public. And this is the situation they found themselves. And if you belong to one of them, if you're on one of those flights, please expect this kind of issue. And I think that's the best they can do for now. But all what they cannot do to follow up is ensure that they try to minimize the pain that will come to the consumers. It's important to restore credibility to the airline industry. We have been buoyed with the flight delays and cancellation of data. That becomes an embarrassment for the industry in general. And that's why we all rejoiced when we heard the announcement of the Spring Alliance, which joined other alliances already in place, strictly to ensure that passengers are not stranded, but put on spare flights and other flights to go to the destination they're going to. And I think that's a good one. And I think the public should be aware of this and enjoy the benefits as it comes.
And also talking about ticketing now, the price of ticketing for those who might still likely fly at this point in time. What's your forecast for ticket price? We're already seeing double the amount, the cost for tickets. What do you think would also play out in the coming days?
I don't think the airlines would increase the ticket fare because what they have right now they've not been able to attract passengers back into the plane as it were before the ticket increase. We have lost leisure travelers. We have lost those visiting family and friends. So most people that are flying are those who are going for business or going for an engagement, public or private. So I think they will be very sensitive with the price because the artery that met the last one has not really settled down. So I don't think that would. But if there would be, it will be on strategic route and it will be very, very marginal on notice. I think if the airline operators had made the increase gradual, maybe 5%, 10% on weekly basis, we have not been noticed, but they went close to about 100% within increase, and that affected the demand from passengers and also brought outrage from the industry.
Thank you so much for your time on the show today. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, Mr. Olumide Ohunayo. We keep our fingers crossed on all of the intricacies that it's going to play out in the coming days, as well as tabs on the latest development. We will definitely have some more information come through. Thank you once again for your time.
Thank you for having me.